Well, it seems like we got enough likes on that last video, so what I want to do is we're going to start with this two-part, and we'll see how it goes. So thanks for viewing, and if you have any ideas, send it along, because with this COVID thing, we're struggling to find things to put in there where I can go, where there's nobody around, and I've kind of photobombed this barn here because there's nobody here. And anyway, enjoy the video. Okay, good evening. It's Thursday night, and I'm out here. It's actually at the family farm. I guess was my grandfather's farm in, when he come in 1911, Brian?
He came in 1911 to be a hired man over here at Treston Tiffins, and then he married the daughter here in 1916.
Well, there's the plan. I'm here with my brother Brian, and he now owns this farm. And we just thought there's a lot of history in this barn that we know, and we thought this would be as good a place as any. Plus, with the pandemic on and we can't go anywhere, you know, we thought we might as well do it here at home. Right, Brian?
It's too cold to plant beans.
It is too cold to plant beans.
Well, it is an interesting barn, and it hasn't got tore down because we just keep finding ways of repurposing it. It's likely from 1880 in that neighborhood time frame, and it's been a lot of things in my memory, let alone before that. It used to be cow stables and horse stables and granaries, and the barn drive was right in the middle, and the hammer mill, the belt driven, was up in there. And then it was a cattle barn, and then in the mid-90s, Brother Alan and I, we put that lean-to on the back to make dry sow storage, and these were farrowing pens. So this barn, if it could talk, it would have quite a story. It used to have board siding on it, like pine boards, and actually the roof originally would have been shingle, but in the 40s it was replaced with aluminum. So that roof's been on there since the 40s, because during the war you couldn't get steel roof, and it was the best thing that ever happened to put the aluminum on. We've had it re-screwed, but that roof will last indefinitely.
Well, that's something I didn't know.
There you go. Something you did know is that this barn peak used to face the other way, and in the 20s they raised it, and the horses turned it around a pivot and turned it a quarter so that the far side was the sunny side, in order to have the barnyard out the sunny side.
All that work just for that?
Yeah, they must have had coronavirus or something.
Nothing else to do.
So we have insulated shop in part of it, and storage, and who knows what the next generation will put in it.
Well, let's take a walk through, and we can talk about where everything was. I remember years and years ago, if we didn't stay for church, we had to come home and clean out the cow stable.
That's right. Yeah, and you got it done just about when everybody else was getting home from church.
It's amazing how long it took.
Yeah.
So I remember this used to be the barnyard, and it was about, I would say, almost 2 feet lower than this.
Yeah, it dropped off right along the barn here. And then this had liquid manure in here. From where this crack is, this was all slats and dry sow stalls and dry sow pens. Now we keep the nitrogen in here, and junk, lots of junk.
A little bit of heat too, isn't there?
Yeah, this is all insulated, and with the fabric sealing and blown in insulation, it works out pretty good.
Well, the problem that I'm finding is that a lot of these barns, and well, like this shed is here, it's low. it's so low. And if you don't tear the mow out like you have here, you can't get anything in it.
Right, we tore that mow out about 13 years ago, and almost everything will get under there. The combine won't, but that's not, there's lots of other things to put in.
I think it was lucky that beam right there was as high as it is, because a lot of them, the beam that goes across that one is at the bottom of the mow.
Yeah, this one had two, and you can see the butt of the other one over
Oh,
there.
yeah, yep.
And this was the barn drive floor here. So that would have been the other support beam.
Yeah, these are all hand hewed. And the rafters, now I haven't been in a barn yet that's got rafters like these, but aren't they black?
Black ash.
Black ash, yeah. And they would be probably flat on one side, are they?
Yeah, they're hewn flat on the one side.
No sense doing the other sides.
No, it's for show. It's, what do they call it? Live edge.
Live edge, it's modern.
We kept one of the beams out of Uncle Huey's barn when it tore down and have it for a mantle in the new house, and there's a little bit of live edge on that as well.
There you can see the siding, the inside of the siding. It was getting pretty tired, and it, you know, steel helps because it stops the wind from blowing through these barns. Once you get about 2 boards off one end, either you got to fix it or tear it down because it's not going to stand much longer.
Right.
Well, that's good. Well, thanks, Brian, for taking the time to come down and reminisce a little bit. A lot of this stuff I either forgot about or didn't know, and it's nice to have a little review.
It's good to have been there.
Good. Okay, I've come to this barn for a lot of reasons, mostly because I know the guy that owns it. He said, sure, come on. What used to be in here, well, this used to have mows. And actually there was a shop in the middle of this barn and a mow on the other end, and just an old-fashioned barn floor. And these beams come right down to the floor, right down to the ground. And you basically couldn't get anything in this barn. So what we ended up doing was cabling this barn and making like a cable truss on the bottom of that beam. Now that top beam runs all the way across this barn, and I would guess this barn's probably 40 feet wide. I don't know, must be close. And it was built on a cement block wall, and it was crumbling real bad. And actually this end here, when we lifted the barn up, I guess I can't show it with that door open. When we lifted the barn up, the wall fell right over. And what we ended up doing, I guess you can see it here, is we stuck posts in the ground, and they're sitting on cement blocks down there, and we've put these pieces of steel in there to hold the thing together. And I don't know, I hope it stands for another 100 years, I don't know. We ended up putting an I-beam under that post. And, about 8 years ago, the end of this barn, the boards were falling off the west end because the sun shines on that west end quite a bit, and they were rotten. And what was happening is, and you can see it up here in this corner, the boards were falling off on the west end, and it was blowing them off on this northeast corner. It blew off about 10 feet of boards. So I seen at the time that we either had to rescue this barn or tear it down, or it was going to fall down. And this is, to me, it's quite a piece of engineering building this barn, and it's big. And we got big doors in it now. We can get big equipment in here, and it's just being used now for hay and straw. And a few things, but we can put big equipment in here. Right now, actually, my grandchildren are using it. They have sheep in the lean-to next door, so it's a general purpose building for them, but we've used it for farm machinery and stuff. But I just wanted to show you how we had trussed this end here with these cables, cut those beams off and put those cables across. And also, I don't know whether we can see it, in this west end, the barn was separating a little bit, and we went up there with a 3/8 cable and actually pulled the barn back together. And I don't know whether you can see it, we've hooked on the top corner with a 3/8 cable and pulled that barn right back. And so it should stand. The only weak point is these cement block walls. They're just, the manure over the years has just deteriorated them, and they're not very good. But anyway, it's an inside wall now because there's a lean-to on this side. And anyway, that's what we've done to, I guess you'd say, rescue this barn. And you can see we put plywood gussets on those beams on both sides. That's 3/4 inch plywood screwed in. We don't use nails. Oh, there's a gusset up there that maybe never got put on. It's cut but never put on. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you this barn. So, hello. I'm out here today at Don and Ron Mudford's near Tupperville, the city of Tupperville. And this is for the barns. And they have a very unique barn, so I thought we would come and have a look at this barn. And Don, why don't you tell us a little, this is Don Mudford, tell us a little bit of the history of this barn.
Anyways, this barn was built in 1935 by Harold Simpson. The original barn had burned down in the spring or early summer of that year after the haying season. And I have the newspaper clipping from that we found up in the attic. And they talked about what a big fire it was and how many fire departments had to come to try to put it out, and how they had to hose down the tile yard on the other side of the river to prevent it from burning down too. So this barn, like I said, was built in 1935 at the cost of $2,000. And the lumber was purchased from Consolidated Lumber in Wallaceburg, and that was on the bill, along with a 4% sales tax, which really surprised me in 1935.
That it would be that high, or even have sales tax.
Or even have sales tax. I was really surprised by that, but it was on the contract, so it's for real. This is a not your usual barn. Post and beam barn. It's a steel truss barn, and they were more or less a kit barn by the Beatty Company from Fergus. And they were advertised to be cheaper to put up because of the cost of the labor involved. I guess you didn't have to make too many meals for the barn raisers this way. I'm not sure how they transported those big beams here. It's a pretty tall barn.
I would think they bolt together.
Most likely, likely. We moved here in 1985, and were able to finally get a severance on the property and purchase it, and totally restored the house and the barn. We're almost done the barn. You can see we've just got the front doors now to do. This has been a few-year project. The hips, the roof, the higher part up there just got done last summer, and we did the lower portion of it the summer before.
The concrete looks really good.
It is. It's really good. It's a barn that we love. It was totally worth putting all of the money into because it's just a fantastic barn. It would have been a shame to see it fall apart.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm doing this, because there's so many barns, as you know, 2 boards come off the end, and then the first thing you know, the darn thing's blowing down.
Absolutely. I do photography, and I photograph old barns, and it just breaks my heart to see these barns that nobody loves anymore.
Yeah.
I love this barn. That's why it's painted red, see?
It takes love, but also takes money.
A lot of money. A lot of money. These would have been, I use them for storage now, these would have been grain slots. So when we first, this is my shavings in bags in here right now, but the grain would have been stored in these. So they had things that came up the wall here, the boards that.
Yeah.
And then they filled these up with grain.
Yeah. Our barn at home had the same thing, and when you think about it, they would only hold about a wagon load or two.
Oh, probably. No, then they had the tilt window so that you could dump them in there. And this would have been 2, and then that would have been 1 there.
This is what I wanted to see, was these barn beams, steel barn beams. Most of the barns we've been in have been wooden truss. See, they are all bolted together. So they would bring that here and bolt them. So there's 1, 2. There's only 3 trusses in this barn.
I don't know why I think
4.
1, 2,
There's
3,
4.
4. There's 4.
So it looks like they're about 16 feet apart. That first one looks farther. That first one's 20. Yeah, and this one's about...
We had John Sony came out and he did the roof for us. And when he did that, he came and gave us an estimate. We started to do it, and he realized that he needed a taller ladder. He did all the barns around here, and he did not have a ladder tall enough for this barn. He said it's probably one of the tallest barns around. Well, it was the tallest one he had done at the time. It's pretty tall.
Well, and back in the day, they would have filled that right full of loose hay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because there's doors up there. The door is up there where they would have dropped it in. There's doors on either side. Now this hay mow has been cut back. It used to be here.
Yeah.
Gave us a lot more room in here. There's a lot of space in here, a lot of height.
And a lot of these old barns, there's a lot of wasted space that really, like up in the top, you can't use.
No, unless you've got some really tall equipment that you can't get it in the door, I suppose. Yeah, but we still love it. It doesn't matter, you know. We've had a few parties in here in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Barn parties are cool. But there actually is hay in that one, but left from last season.
You got lots of hay.
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's been originally, the barn siding looks pretty good yet.
It was. It actually was, but we couldn't keep paint on it.
Yeah, that's the
problem. And it was getting kind of grubby looking. So we decided that we may as well just protect it properly. And it's not as drafty this way either.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
It's a little warmer, because I keep 2 horses in here, and I've got some guinea pigs and rabbits and chickens and animals that I like to try to keep warm.
And it would also add a lot of strength to the barn too with the steel.
Probably, yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, this is another interesting barn. Every one I go to, they're all different. Well, Dawn, thanks for taking the time to show us through.
Oh, you're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Oh, you're
well,
more
there's
than
the goat.
Hey, Stewie. Come here, bud. Stewie. No, he'd rather.
You've got a beautiful barn here, and it's well maintained. It looks like it's going to be well maintained in the future.
Absolutely.
So, thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
Well, I'm here this morning and got a little time, so I thought I would film this barn. What they got here is they've built this piece on this barn, lean-to. It's about, I'm just guessing, 60 by 80. There used to be a silo here, and the guy tore it down, but there was a manger down the middle. So what he's done is put up this row of gates. I actually know this old guy that has this. Anyway, this is the side of the barn that's holding this building up. And that's why I went and filmed the barn that has the posts holding the building up, because what happens is the barn gets in bad shape, and then you got to tear it down. But this barn, or this side of the barn, is holding this building up. You can't tear the barn down without this building falling down. And what they've done, they've come along and they've tore the barn down, built this lean-to on this side, and it's also being held up by the barn, and it's got hand-hewn beams. It's in really nice shape because it's basically been inside for a long time. And this is I don't know whether you'd call this a barn rescue, a half of a barn rescue. Anyway, I just thought I'd film this as one of the reasons why when they have you build a lean-to on a barn, they make you put posts in case, just in case you have to tear the barn down. And there's a post there. They've put a 2x12 on the side. They've married it up there to beef it up a little. Anyway, and this is the lean-to on the side here. So we got 2 lean-tos, and it makes a whole barn. Just another idea. Well, I think we're gonna cut this barn video off here. We've been to a few barns now, and I have a lot more on the list. So what I was thinking, if you enjoyed this video and thought you wanted to see more, I've probably got 6 or 8 more barns on the list. Every time I went to a barn, somebody would say, well, why don't you go do this barn, or why don't you go do that barn? And the video was just going to get to be too long, so I decided to cut it off. I think there's 6 or 7 barns in this video. So that's going to do it for it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you like this video, give us a like. YouTube keeps track of all that, and it does help our standing on the YouTube as to when we come up for people that aren't subscribers, if there's more likes or subscribers or whatever. So, and the other thing, you know, if you've got some city cousins, you know, send them this link for this video or for this channel, so that I wanted them. That's who our target market is here. So with that, I'm gonna cut this video off. Thanks a lot.